So for this assignment, we'll be measuring distance on a map. We know that we use the scale to do so. So with you right now, you should have a scrap piece of paper, you should have a pencil, and you should have your map. Let's take a look at our map and a little bit of detail about it. So the first thing we're going to see is this is a map of the Bootheel of Missouri. So the southeast corner of Missouri is the Bootheel. On this map we have our legend. On our legend we have all of our different markings on the map. Because it's a black and white copy though, you can't see all the color-coded stuff. But the things that are going to be important to us for this assignment are over here on the left side. First, our scale. So our scale is, again, how we measure distance. Notice on the top of the scale we have miles, right? On the bottom of the scale we have kilometers. Make sure you're using the top of the scale. We're not using the metric system here in the United States. We're going to use the top numbers for miles. Other things you're going to need to know are roads and how they are marked. So the really bold lines mean that they are some sort of a highway, paved, really nice roads. And then as they get lighter in color or thinner in the line, then they get to kind of like our city streets, and then we have gravel roads if it's dotted line or a dashed line. So different types of roads that we might follow when measuring distance. And then lastly, our cities. If it's really bold, that just means it's a really big city. It's really small. It's a really small city. And then the dot just indicates the location. You could look at all the other symbols. Campsites have a little tent. Park has a tree. Park with campsites has a tree with a tent. But that's not important for our assignment. So let's look at what we're going to be doing with our assignment. So our first question is asking, what is the straight line distance between Summersville, Missouri and Pinecrest, Missouri? These can be found in grid 16R. Now, a couple things to look at on our map before we do this question together. First, our grid reference system, a little bit different than what we've seen with our other maps that we've been working on, in that it has numbers across the bottom, letters across the side. This just makes it really easy for people who are not educated on how to do an actual grid reference system like we've been doing. So instead of numbers and numbers, we have numbers and letters. So it's just really easy to do. Now on this question, there's a couple things that we need to pull out of it. The first thing it says is a straight line distance. Straight line distance means exactly that. We are measuring in a straight line between one point on the map to another point on the map. That means we don't have to follow roads. If you're driving, some of the questions say you're driving, that means you have to follow a road as you measure your distance. But question 1, straight line distance between Summersville and Pinecrest. These are in grid square 16R. So along the bottom, you're going to find 16, which is down here in the bottom left. Along the side, you're going to find R. And when they intersect, we have grid square 16R. Within this grid square, you can see Summersville and Pinecrest. So to measure the straight line distance, I'm going to take my piece of paper. Let me zoom in for you so you can see a little better. Take my piece of paper and I'm going to put the corner on one town and then make sure the other town is along the edge of the paper. Again, this is a straight line measurement, so it's just a straight line between the two. I have the corner on Summersville, make sure it's on the dot, and then I'm going to make a mark with my pencil, which is where Pinecrest is. So that tells me this distance on my piece of paper is the straight line distance from Summersville to Pinecrest. Now to get the actual distance and answer the question, we need to come down to our scale. Really easy. I take the corner of the piece of paper where I started my measurement and put it at the start of the bar graph. And then I'm going to put, making sure it's straight with my bar graph, I can see that my measurement stopped here. This would be 5 miles. This would be 10 miles, and it's somewhere in between. Your options for your answers on number 1, 10, 6, or 22. Pretty obvious, it's not 10. It's not 22. Just past 5 would be 6. So 6 is your answer for your first question. So everybody should get that one right. 6 is your answer for your first question. The next thing we'll talk about is measuring distance for driving. So if we are driving from one point to another, I have to follow a road. All right? We're not going to be going off-road. We're going to follow a road. Let's say, for example, that I am going to be driving from Winona to Van Buren. Winona to Van Buren, there is a road, goes right down here between the two. And I know this is a road because down in my legend I have this line showing me as a type of road. So to do this one, a little bit different, but same idea by using the edge of my paper. So I'm going to start the corner right on Winona, and I'm going to start following the road all the way down. The road's not straight though, so I'm going to put the corner on Winona and I'm going to line it up with the road the best I can. I have a small straight stretch if I look closely from Winona to get down to this road. So I'm going to turn my paper, corners on Winona, and then the road turns right here to go this way. So if it turns away or underneath your paper, you need to make a mark right there. Now I'm going to use that mark as a pivot point, and I'm going to keep it in that spot as best I can, and I'm going to rotate it to follow the road again. Now the road turns underneath my paper, so I'm going to make a mark, and I'm going to turn so I can follow the road again. Here it turns away from my paper, make a mark, follow the road again. Here I have a really small curve, and that's okay because it pretty well follows the paper. But now it disappears under the paper, so I got to make a mark. And then follow the road again. Turn it, mark it, turn it, and now, well, let's do one more mark here. Mark it, turn it, and now I'm at my destination, Van Buren. So I make a big mark so I know that's the end of my measurement. I'm going to come down, bring my paper to my scale, put the beginning measurement at 0, line it up with my bar graph, and it's just past 20 miles. Okay, so I would probably say that's about 21 miles. Now that is not a question for you to answer, that was just a demonstration. So if your question asks for a driving distance, make sure you're following roads. If it does not say driving or straight line, then it's just a straight line. So if it does not specify driving, always do a straight line. Let's see, what else do we need to talk about? One of your questions asks for the difference. So your last question asks for the difference of the driving distance between 2 points and the straight line distance of 2 points. If you have to find the difference between two numbers, you subtract the two numbers. So that means I have to get a driving distance, a straight line distance, subtract the two, and that gives you the answer to your last question. Once you finish this, please put your map where it should go. Your substitute will tell you how to do that, and then you'll move on to the next assignment. let me know if you have any questions. If the substitute cannot answer them, then I will answer them via email as fast as I can.